Hi everyone, today we're in my backyard and we're going to do a little bit of collecting. This tree next to me with the impressive trunk is a Tanyosho pomegranate. That's a special Japanese cultivar and it makes pale orange flowers with a yellow surround. The pomegranate is native to the Mediterranean area, but somewhere around the time of Marco Polo, pomegranates were brought to China, then they went across the water to Japan, and instead of eating the seeds, the Japanese said, wow, look at those flowers, and maybe this will be good for bonsai. And since then, in the past 1,000-odd years, they've bred dozens and dozens of varieties, and this is one such variety. When I got this, I tried fattening it up in a large tub, and that didn't work, so I put it in the ground about 7 years ago, and here it is. Now, while some might be inclined to leave it a few more years, that has risks as well, and that if the root system gets too far out of control, there's going to be trouble getting it to live happy in a container. Now you'll notice it's just starting to push new leaves. Look at these right here. And I thought I saw a few here on the larger trunk too. Yeah, it's got a few leaf buds here and there. So this is the optimum time to dig this out. Here's the leaf buds on the larger trunk down here and down in here. So this has to get lifted now. So let me go find some gloves and we'll get to it. The ground is soft right now because while we haven't had much rain, the ground has held the water that I've been putting into it from watering, so we can dig pretty easily. Now this is something where I've already found one thick root here, and that's kind of what I expected, is that this guy's going to have some fairly long and thick roots going to some places. So we'll go around this one, and then we'll get it with a lopper, and then we're almost out, and you can see the old bonsai soil down here underneath where I planted this guy in. I've just got a few roots on the back side here. We'll have this out, then we can clean it up and go back into a pot. Okay, we've got our pomegranate out of the ground now. Now I just gotta clean up the weeds and other growths, trim it a little, then find a large enough tub to hold it, and then we'll cut back the top a bit and get it reestablished in a pot and move it on its way to being a bonsai. This is a Brazilian pepper bonsai that I got a few years ago. And the one thing it's suffering from is a trunk that's not really thick. Now these grow really fast in the ground and you can get a really thick trunk. So I figure we'll just stick this in the ground for 2 or 3 years here, since our pomegranate did really well in this location. And these have such powerful roots, I'm not even going to break up the root ball. Just going to push the soil around it and let nature take its course. And I'm guessing in a couple of years we'll come back here and this will have a really thick trunk, and then we can dig it out and put it back in a bonsai pot. We've cleaned up the roots and we found it fits nicely in this tub. In point of fact, this may have been the tub it was in before I put it in the ground, but it fits in here, and that's the important thing. We can keep it here for a year or two, then go into a proper training pot and then a bonsai pot. Now looking at the trunk base, it's roughly 6 inches across, which means we're not, and it's going to be a 2-trunk or a single trunk informal upright bonsai, so that means it's not going to be taller than, say, 3 feet. So we need to cut the top back a little since we took off some large roots, and we'll take off what we don't need. And in this case, That's going to be some of this up here for sure, and maybe a little bit on this side too, and then we'll look into more finely shaping it later. Now for right now, I'm going to take it off right there. Now, I don't know about making cuttings out of this, but I've got some nice pieces of root that I can do root cuttings with, so I'm not going to worry too much about losing these. And then we've also got a branch here that's too thick to be an upper branch on a bonsai. So for now, we'll take this back to a little side bud there. And then on this side, I'm going to take a look here. If this ends up being a secondary trunk, it's going to be considerably shorter than this one. So for now, we'll just take it right off back to there. Now this is just a rough cut to get it happy in the pot, and we'll deal with further pruning at a later time. Now I'm looking at it right now and I'm thinking I'm going to tilt it a little like this. It's sitting a little too high, so we'll take some of this out instead of adding some in, and that'll make it a little easier to get it in there. Okay, that's good right there. So now we'll just pack the soil back in there. I'm going to trim back some of the branch tips here just to kind of get things under control here, and just sort of rough style it down to a size I can manage. Fine styling isn't going to happen until a few years down the line, but looking at the massive trunk on this thing, the potential it has as a bonsai is obvious. Okay, and then we've got some crossing branches here. This one may be a heavier cutter. Just take a look at that. Yeah, this I'm going to leave now because I may take this off later and go with this as the upper line on this trunk. We've got to take off the suckers at the base. And let's see, still got some small stuff to take off the top here. Okay, this is pretty good for right now with that. Now we've got something we can do with the pieces of root that we took off that's pretty interesting. We can make root cuttings, and in point of fact, one of our little pieces of root we took off is already sprouting leaves. So what we can do here, and this little fella should work pretty well in a 4-inch pot. If we just do this, we'll put those down right there and not forget. Then we've got a little pot right here, and then we take a little bit of soil here, and we got nothing to lose here. This is basically a free plant for you, and with something as unusual as a Tanyosho pomegranate, it's definitely worth doing. So now we've got a couple other little pots here, and we'll take our other pieces of root here and see if we can get them in here and get them going. I've got a few more roots and pots, so we'll figure out what we're going to try to save here and what not. Now something like this probably doesn't need any rooting hormone. So we're just going to try it like this. And see how it goes. And then we'll find some other pots and do the same thing with this. This one really has some potential, you know, because it's big and it's already got a nice shape to it. I just got to get this thing to live in a pot. So let's... This is our collected from the garden Tenyosho pomegranate, and later in this year it will be covered with leaves and flowers, hopefully. And then these are our 3 pieces of root that we took off that we decided might be good candidates for root cuttings. The one with the little leaves on it certainly will. It's already a plant unto itself. And then these other 2 definitely have a chance also. And so we'll just keep these in a nice shady place until they start showing signs of life. And hopefully we'll have 3 more Tenyosho pomegranates. Thank you for watching, folks. I'm sure you thought the video was over by now. Actually, what I decided to do is I wanted to show you that the collection and potting of this pomegranate was a success. So here we have it in all its glory, sitting on my back patio, fully leafed out. You can see it's still in that big plastic bucket, along with various other trees and plants that are in the propagation and cultivation area. Here's our boxwood that we worked on in another video. But back to the pomegranate. If you'll take a look somewhere right in here, there you can see it, center screen. It's already pushing flower buds. And we have another one here, and I know there's some other places here. But anyway, we're doing so well with this that in the near future we're going to shape it out and try to get it going towards something we can put in a bonsai pot. So now, thank you for watching, folks.